Hi everyone. This is Dr. Kerry Kriger, founder and executive director of Save the Frogs, and this is our third week of Save the Frogs Academy Lake Erie's Toads class, where our goal is to protect the Fowler's toads that are under threat of development of a condominium complex at Lake Erie in Fort Erie, Canada, and to spread amphibian awareness across Canada. So thanks everyone for joining us. And can somebody chat me to make sure that you can hear me? Send a chat, say hi. Okay, excellent. All right, well, I'm going to start out by saying some things that I did this week. And so I added our class videos from this class up to our SaveTheFrogs.com /toads webpage, which is the official Lake Erie Toads page of ours. And I created a quick link to that page, and it is SaveTheFrogs.com /toads. So if you need to be sending out a link or making any flyers or any kind of materials to promote our campaign, easiest thing to do is to use SaveTheFrogs.com /toads. And I created an action alert to Environment Canada. It also went out to people at in Ontario government. So Environment Canada is federal government. It went out also to Ontario government and also to the mayor and city council of Fort Erie. And we got 1,277 people thus far have sent that action alert. And that was a letter, specifically a comment to Environment Canada based on their call for comments related to the Fowler's Toad recovery strategy. So 1,277 people sent the letter, and it went out to 18 different email addresses through Canada's federal, provincial, and local government. So a lot of politicians are now undoubtedly aware of the plight of the Fowler's toads and the issues surrounding it, and hopefully will take this matter seriously and not assume that it can just be, pushed through. So I was pretty happy with that. And that brings up an issue that now the action alert, the call for comments from Environment Canada was through the 10th of the month, which was yesterday. So rather than continue letters bombarding politicians, which could potentially make them not too happy, we should switch it. We still want people taking action, and we still want to be collecting people's email addresses if they're interested in this cause. So it'd be better to have an electronic petition for people to sign. That means it won't generate emails straight to the politicians. We'll be collecting petition signatures, and then it's up to us to deliver them to the appropriate person who's being petitioned, the person or the government body. So if any of you have thoughts on who that petition should be addressed to, let me know. My thoughts were the head of Ontario's government. I don't know if I think that's Viability, but I'm not sure. Otherwise, the head of the MNR, the Ministry of Natural Resources. Alternatively, it could be addressed to the Prime Minister of Canada. And probably a good idea would be to, if someone out there could contact those organizations and figure out what, if any, legal relevance does a petition have. The petition may just be psychological, but it's possible that those government bodies are required by law to deal in some way with that petition. So it'd be good to know what they will do when they receive our petition, and based on that we can figure out who best to send that petition to. And the next thing, I believe that we came up with a final date for Lake Erie Toads online conference, in which we will invite all relevant parties who have an interest in this issue. That is, politicians, scientists, developers, the people of Lake Erie or Fort Erie, and any toad lovers, environmentalists, but basically people from all sides who may want something to say. And Patrick is going to be helping me contact the various parties, certainly from of the political and scientific end of things. And so the date we came up with is April 2nd at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. That's April 2nd, 5 p.m. EST. I just chatted it to you all. If you know you can't make it, go ahead and chat back. If you know you can make it, go ahead and chat back. And we're probably going to stick with this time, but if everybody out there says, that's not going to work, then maybe we'll change it. So I think 5 p.m. is a good time because politicians are, kind of finishing their day, but they should still be at their office and able to do something if they truly want to. I wasn't able to make a flyer because I have not had any access to a graphic designer, as we rely on a volunteer graphic designer. I'll hopefully get around to, or be able to, make it this week. And I think that sums up everything that I can think of. So I'm going to turn it over to you all and give you all a chance to talk. If you've not ever been on this call or this class meeting, then feel free to say a few words about yourself and why you're interested. And yeah, so for the newcomers out there, we have been meeting each week, and we all come up with something to do for the upcoming week, and then we report back what we accomplished, ask any questions, seek advice, and come up with our next round of actions for next week. Okay, so if you are ready to talk, why don't you chat me hi, and then I'll choose you versus rather than somebody who's potentially not ready. Anyone ready to talk? Otherwise, I'm going to call on someone random. Okay, here we go. All right, we're going to start with Aletta, who's new to this call but not new to the issue. And Aletta, I'm about to unmute you, so go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know what's on your mind. Hi.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Okay, all right, that's good. Yes, I sat in on your one of your other calls. I guess maybe it was about a week ago. So I'm not completely new, but I was just sitting in on it. I wasn't really, I guess, I wasn't registered for it. Fred Schuler, my husband, who's the PhD herpetologist, and we have been last fall down to Lake Erie to see things sort of after everybody had gone down to hibernation for the winter. But we saw the habitat, the areas where people say that they breed, and we look forward to getting out there in calling time this spring.
Okay, great. All right, anything else to add?
I also,
okay.
Yeah, I'm an artist, and I did a painting the levy wrap-up in support of raising money for legal fees or whatever at the festival that's going to be this spring or this summer. And I'm also planning to do paintings of the area. And we will be working on a book with Marie Janicki and anyone else who wants to contribute. A self-published book that will be available online. And we expect to have that done before the middle of summer. Usually our turnaround time for a book like this is about a month. After the field season, after the field work is done.
Okay. And do you have plans for where the book is going?
No, the book and board will be ordered online through .com, which is where our other books are. If anybody wants to go and see our other books, you can find them at lulu.com/spotlight/Karstad. That's my last name, Karstad. And you can see some of our other books we put out on Lulu recently, one of which has been helping to save an area not too far from here from having a mega dump put in. They've actually decided not to put it in. And we think it may have been partly because of a book actually published about it and circulating.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for...
So the power of print.
Okay. Thanks. So I'm going to move on to... let's talk to Marie. Hi, Marie. I have you unmuted.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I've seen Alita's artwork, and she also does private paintings that are just absolutely beautiful that I think people in the area would be interested in buying. I've seen some other books that she's published. She does beautiful work. It's very moving. I think it's the type of thing that will arouse people's sentiments. What I did during the past week was I sent my own letter with a lot of illustrations and maps, trying to show people exactly, the logistics of this artificial habitat and explain to them why it really isn't going to be a useful habitat at all. You hear people who are saying, oh, this is going to be actually, and in fact, by law, it has to be shown that the artificial habitat that's proposed by this developer will actually make up for at least 2 years of digging up where they bury themselves for protection. It won't be for protection anymore. It'll be to go to their death. And for plopping down an enormous high-rise and revetments and underground parking garage right where they live. And this little plot of roped-off land filled with rocks, which they don't like, is supposed to make up for doing all that to them and make things actually better for them. Otherwise, it's illegal to proceed with this project. So I'm trying to show the details to people in a way that, it's hard to try to find a middle ground, something that people will understand who aren't necessarily biologists. We have a number of biologists who have supported the idea that this is really not going to be useful habitat. It's difficult. I believe that there's a policy that the people who actually did the work are not supposed to talk about it. I don't know to what extent that's an official policy, or I've seen that some places in Canada it's actually official policy that if you did the research and the government paid you to do it, then you can't really take a side on any issues. So that makes it difficult. So we have to go to people who didn't actually do the work, the original work on Fowler's toads, but who may be working on it in the United States or in another part of the country. another part of Ontario, and for them to look at the plans and say this isn't going to work. And that is what they're saying. So I'm trying to get that idea across to people, and especially to the new Minister of Natural Resources, or Zeddy. It was the old minister who just left just a short time ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago, who let this permit be granted. And I'm hoping the new one might have an open mind and we can try to reach him. So that's what I think that we should do now, is focus our attention on trying to reach him. And I also have an essay that was written by one of my daughters that I want to send to him to give him kind of a viewpoint from a younger person. And then the last thing we're planning on doing is Tess and I will be doing some videotaping this week to show people the actual layout.
Okay, thank you. And Tessa, are you there? And if so, you will need to unmute yourself. Okay, you're on.
Yes, I am here.
Hi.
Hi. So, yeah, we're just planning on doing some videotapes of the area this next week. And, yeah. And we'll probably just work on those and edit them up.
Okay, so you're planning to make a video out of it all?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And are you going to be talking on the video?
Yeah, I was thinking we'd put just like a description talking in the background explaining what we're showing on the video.
Okay. All right. How long do you expect your final video to be?
I'm not sure yet, but like, definitely under 5 minutes, just a short video just showing the layout in the area.
Okay. All right, good. Yeah, so once you guys, when you guys have final videos done, we'll add them up to our youtube.com/SaveTheFrogs and try to get them some views. All right, anything else to add, Tessa?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Now we've got Patrick on the line. Patrick, I'm going to unmute you. And you are now unmuted. How's it going?
Great, thanks. How about yourself, Kerry?
Good. Thanks for joining us again. And I'm not sure if you were on when I said it. I announced our April 2nd, 5 p.m. Eastern Time conference coming up and said that you would help me get the word out to the various politicians and scientists who should get invited to that.
Absolutely. I saw that. It would be about a week ago now. Mary had shared on the Facebook page a pretty exhaustive listing of possible contributors to the online conference, so I think that that's an extremely valuable starting point. And among that, I have about another half a dozen candidates to add, including the recent feedback that I've heard from some representatives of Ontario Nature, as well as the herpetology species at risk specialist for the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources, who's provided some very interesting contributions to date, and he certainly can help us from a policy side of things, albeit he is a little bit quiet and hesitant to come out publicly. He definitely has the best interests of herps in mind from my past interactions with him, so it'd be great to have him sit in as well.
Okay.
All right, so super April 2nd at 5 p.m. Eastern Time is the go-ahead that I can work on writing up a template email then, Kerry, that we can circulate regarding that.
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea.
All right, super. I'm glad that we have that to go forth on.
Yeah. And do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, most definitely. Now, from a more generalized standpoint, I think Mary raised a really interesting point about the changing of the natural resource ministers, and that is that it went from Michael Gravel, who had reigned for the past few years, to now Michael Orazzetti. And The decision to grant an overall benefit permit, as I learned from the M&R HERP species at risk specialist, is that the overall benefit permit is granted on the opinion by the Minister of Natural Resources that the permit achieves overall benefit, not, and I note not, whether or not the permit actually does achieve an overall benefit. So the person who would have made this decision was our previous Minister, Michael Gravel, and he was of the opinion that the overall benefit outlined by the Molinaro Group would indeed translate to an overall benefit for the toads. Now, if we can get David Orzetti to be of the opinion that this is not of the overall benefit, then there is a potential to have this overturned. And the really unfortunate weakness of this whole matter is that whether an overall benefit achieved is extremely subjective. It's not empirical. They don't have to suggest modeling. The Molinaro Group does not suggest some sort of modeling. They don't have to look at population dynamics. Do something known in biology as population viability analysis, which is typically done with threatened populations. This is just simply whether it sounds good on paper and whether it can be applied with the opinion that it creates an overall benefit. Unfortunately, a very sad loophole in our Endangered Species Act in Ontario, but nonetheless convincing our present Minister of Natural Resources, David Orzetti, to be of the opinion that this does not constitute an overall benefit is extremely important, something we should continue to move forth with.
Okay, it sounds like then he should be the recipient, he should be the recipient of our petition.
Most definitely. If he could be added to future contact about this, it would definitely be extremely valuable. I was incredibly surprised to find out that these overall benefits are granted on an opinion basis, and they do not need to show empirical evidence that the species population will receive an overall benefit. Incredibly startling to me, but it came directly from the HERP specialist of the M&R, who's extremely familiar with the policy. So
okay,
I take it as...
Yeah, what I do when people tell me things like that is I say, okay, well, where's the code that says that precise language? And, you know, because maybe that's not correct. Maybe it is correct, but, you know, I guess that can go either way. It basically sounds like we'll leave it up to the politician to decide. And, yeah, that's pretty crazy. But that makes it easy for a new prime minister who does not want to look bad in the eyes of the public to be of the opinion that no permit will be no benefit will be achieved. So I think we should perhaps make the wording of the petition perhaps related to that, and I'll discuss that with you. It would still be good to know if a petition has any legal bearing to the MNR or to anyone Ontario government.
Right. A petition is a possibility, although my past experience with one has been a little bit weak. Petitions presented to the House of Commons here in Ontario, which is the provincial level assembly, for which these sorts of issues would be addressed. Unfortunately, it does kind of tend to fall on deaf ears. The last year, a group came together in Ontario called the Friends of Ontario Snapping Turtles, or FROGS, and in the province we collected 11,000 signatures to delist the snapping turtle as a game reptile because it was upgraded from not at risk to a species of special concern. It's also the only game reptile listed in the whole province. Despite 11,000 signatures, it went to the House of Commons, was presented by Minister of Provincial Parliament, and within 45 days the House of Commons is required to issue a response on that. No ifs, ands, or buts. They have to require to issue a response and make a decision accordingly. And they did. It was late, but they did issue a response to the petition, and it did not change matters. The Ministry of Natural Resources and their present minister at that time, who was Michael Gravel, the same one who granted the Fowler's Toad overall benefit permit, he did not change his decision. So ultimately it does go to the same person, who would be the Minister of Natural Resources. So David Orzetti, whether we pursue him with a petition or whether we pursue him with emails and empirical evidence that that the Fowler's Toad overall benefit permit does not actually provide an overall benefit, either one of those methods will work, but a petition will probably be very time-consuming and will ultimately end up at the same person in the end.
Okay. All right. Let's see. If the petition then is meaningless, then perhaps it's better to stick with emails. I'll talk to you about that later. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Yes. Lastly, I don't want to hog the spotlight here, but lastly, I extracted some statements from the Fowler's Toads Recovery Strategy, a document that was composed by Dr. David Green and colleagues in 2011 and issued as reports to follow up the reassessment of the Fowler's Toad by COSEWIC, the Committee on the Status of Endangered Wildlife in Canada. And there are three main quotes from the recovery strategy which I'd like to have known to our audience tonight, which are particularly pertinent to this case. The first quote, which I've extracted directly from the document, is, "An assessment of the effectiveness of habitat creation projects is lacking." So there it is. Firstly, we have Molinaro Group saying that they're going to create new habitat and it's going to be beneficial for the toads. But this document says directly, "An assessment of the effectiveness of habitat creation is lacking." It's a powerful statement, it's blunt, and it goes to show that even the head Fowler's Toad scientist in Canada feels as if we do not understand properly the requirements of these animals. And so truly I ask, how can we claim to be able to create habitat if we don't know what they require to begin with? Okay, the second statement, they say, and I quote, "Biological data, such as survivorship, fecundity, recruitment, and hybridization, is lacking for the Niagara and Rondeau populations." So, obviously from that, we also lack general life history and population data regarding these animals. So not only do we not know what habitats they require, but we also don't even know the current status of the population other than it upholds an endangered status. So 2 points out of the way. And finally, the third quote, so the overall benefit permit that's been issued to the Molinaro Group has allowed them to relocate toads as well as directly harm, kill, and harass. The relocation aspect is one perhaps that they might continue to hold on to as time goes on and say they'll be able to relocate and all is well, the toads will go unharmed. But in this recovery document on page 8 in particular, and those other two quotes for anybody taking notes down on page 7, on page 8 they say, and I quote, "Information is needed to determine the feasibility of translocation projects," end quote. So finally, if habitat creation won't work, and if removing toads from the immediate area won't work, and the Molinaro Group has had permission to relocate toads, this document that's intended for the recovery strategy of the species finally says that the feasibility of translocation projects is unknown and remains to be determined. So those are simply the three last points I want to make, that this overall benefit permit is really anything but, because the initiatives that they outline within, simply we don't have the background to follow through on them. And of course this has been known to everybody who's involved with the Save the Frogs initiative up to this time, but we do have, of course, these direct excerpts from lead professionals in the field who recognized this long before the development, well, not long before, but before this development came to fruition.
Thanks. On that last point, I'll add, I don't know if they have given any kind of details as far as where they would translocate animals, but if there's suitable habitat, then there would already be Fowler's toads there.
That's right.
And if there's already Fowler's toads there, then you're going to stress out the Fowler's toads that are there by adding lots of toads to their habitat, which is they've probably filled up to their ideal population capacity. And you're going to stress out the new toads because, A, they're going to have to find a new place to live. They're going to have a lot of angry toads all around them, and they're not going to have space. So I don't have much faith in translocating animals, and it's not going to benefit the population. That is for certain.
Right, and this comes as well on top of comments that Marie passed along from correspondence with Dr. Todd Tupper, lead expert on the Fowler's toads in the United States, and he had mentioned the sun compass and navigation of these animals and how translocation is not likely to benefit them because they're not likely to stay put in the novel habitats in which they're placed. They'll very likely seek out traditional grounds, and in doing so cross roadways, cross unsuitable habitat, and otherwise come into conflict with less than desirable situations, which will probably lead to their fatalities.
Yeah, I agree. And I remember when I read when there was a call for comments on the permit application, it didn't have specifics on any of these kind of actions that they were going to be taking as far as, creating habitat and moving toads around. So there's definitely no way that anyone based on current science could come up with the opinion that there would be any overall benefit to the species by what Molinaro claims they're going to do and what the MNR has permitted them to do. Okay, do you have anything else to say?
That's everything. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, Lindsay, if you're out there, now is your chance to talk, and I have you unmuted. How's it going?
Hey, it's going.
Good.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of research on this, on both the Fowler toads, the area, Molinaro as a group. A lot of it, to be perfectly honest, I'd feel more comfortable just kind of talking to you about one-on-one.
Okay.
I do have a lot of concerns with a lot of the things I have found, and that's just kind of where I'm at. I actually have found a lot of information that we really should be discussing.
Okay.
So if we could maybe set that up, that would be really good.
All right, we can do that. So just email me a potential time for this week, and we'll talk.
Okay.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Just like I said, I wanted to discuss some of that with you.
Okay. All right. Eliza, I am going to unmute you. You are now unmuted.
Hello?
Hi.
Okay, so I'll give my kind of update of what I've been up to. I was hoping to, so I've got a draft map, kind of an overview aerial map that shows where in Ontario this site is, the Point Avenue, and kind of a more zoomed in, 3 different maps, a more zoomed in map that's got the area of where the sand is for the Fowler's toads highlighted in like a kind of a yellow color, and then where the development of this proposal is supposed to be. And I thought I put some pictures on it of some toads, so it looks good, and I just am finalizing that, so hopefully I can get that done by this week. And I was kind of going to put some quotes on it, like, only 1/3 of the population's left in Ontario, kind of put some really eye-opening, important quotes on there. And then I'm not sure really what we can use the map for, but I'm hoping when we get those flyers made, maybe it can be incorporated onto that, or even if you're just sending out, we can definitely put it on the website. I'm pretty sure we can, if it's good, if it's good enough, we can do that, and then that way people that aren't really familiar with the area can kind of get a general idea of where it is and why it's so important. So hopefully I can finish that by this week. That's my goal. Secondly, I got some more contacts to add to our list. I've contacted them through my work email, and I've got 3 different people, all from Environment Canada, and they are Species at Risk Canadian Wildlife Services, and then the Species at Risk Recovery. And these are for the federal level. So, whoops, just ignore the phone. So, yeah, we can. I'm not sure how do you want me to add them to the list? Like, just send you their emails directly? These people have emailed me and kind of expressed an interest, and I kind of just asked them, about permitting process and what would be required. I'm still waiting for a response, but I think it'd be good to invite them to the call at the least, and then if they would like to join, they can, and if not, then. But where should I put their emails? Should I just send them an email?
I suggest emailing me and CCing Patrick, who's going to be helping me contact everybody.
Okay. All right.
And,
and
also, you should have access to our page on Facebook where we can put this stuff up.
Okay. All right. So I'll put those I'll send you guys a direct link to those the emails.
Okay.
And you can add them to the list.
And a slight description of who they are.
Yeah. Okay.
Title or
fair enough.
Like that.
And then I was just going to say to ask Marie if her and Tess would like some help this weekend with the video. I'm certainly available and willing to come out and help shoot some footage if they want. So maybe just send me a private Facebook message, or and we can go from there. And then and lastly, once the flyer is made, I'm hoping that I can print it out and distribute around the town of Fort Erie at like the YMCA, local arenas, just public places where people will be, and then that way. I was wondering, this conference that we're doing on April 2nd? Are we going to make it available to anyone that's interested, or is it more of like a professional?
Open to the public.
All right. Well, maybe we can put on there.
We could make a flyer that announces that.
Yeah, and then I can distribute that information around the town if we have a flyer that has all that information on it.
Yeah, Patrick and I will come up with an invite, and then we'll also come out with a little announcement paragraph that'll have the details, and then I think maybe that should be our first flyer that we make. Should just be join the online conference to discuss it, and then based on how many people will be on the call. I'm not sure if we'll have a registration system or what it'll be, but based on that, we can figure out how much time each person has, and then maybe we'll have a list of invited panelists who all get, say, 3 minutes to say their side, and then maybe they'll field a question or two right then, or maybe we'll go around to everybody and then take questions, and then maybe some of the general public, can say something. I'm not sure how we'll do it, but yeah, I like the idea of having as many people as possible.
All right. Yeah. So once the flyer's made, we can put on the information when the call is and how to access it, and I certainly don't mind going around the town of Fort Erie and asking, if we're able to put like a half a page or page up of when it is and why it's important. So
okay, sounds good to me.
Yep, and that's kind of all I've got to add.
Okay, and then also as far as the video goes, if you're out there helping out with filming I think it's good to have real people in the film, in which case maybe you could hold the camera and
Right, yeah,
Marie
that's
and
what I was
Tessa
thinking.
could talk in front of the camera. And then, you know, if you don't want the footage, you don't have to use it, but that's good to personalize the issue. Okay. Well, thank you for that. And I guess I will just open it up if anyone has any final thoughts. I think we've gotten everything, you know, everything we've gone around and everyone's had their say. Does anyone have anything else to add or ask? In which case, send me a chat that says hi. Okay. It sounds like that's it, so I thank you all for being here. And if you want to talk to me on the phone or Skype, then go ahead and email me and we can set something up. And otherwise, I'll see you all same time next week, which would be March the 18th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, thanks for helping save the toads. Bye.